Australia, the land of kangaroos, koalas, and vast arid deserts. But what if I told you that this sun-baked continent was once home to a massive inland sea? It might sound like a scene from a science fiction novel, but it's true. Millions of years ago, a colossal body of water stretched across what is now the Australian outback. This wasn't just a temporary flood, it was a permanent fixture of the landscape, teeming with life and shaping the continent we know today. The idea of an inland sea might seem outlandish now, as we gaze upon the parched earth and endless horizons of the outback. Yet the evidence is etched into the very fabric of the land itself. Fossils of ancient marine creatures, sedimentary rock formations, and the ghostly outlines of ancient shorelines all point to a time when water, not desert, ruled supreme. This essay delves into the fascinating history of Australia's lost inland sea. We'll journey back in time to explore its formation, its inhabitants, and its eventual demise. We'll also examine the remnants of this watery past, visible in the form of salt lakes and ancient riverbeds. Finally, we'll consider the ambitious, if ultimately flawed, plans to recreate this inland sea through human intervention. Join me as we dive into the depths of Australia's geological history and uncover the secrets of its lost inland sea. To understand the existence of Australia's inland sea, we must first journey back in time, to a period long before humans walked the earth. During the Mesozoic era, roughly 252 to 66 million years ago, Australia was a very different place. It was part of the supercontinent Gondwana, locked in an icy embrace with Antarctica. Despite its southern location, Australia was not always a dry and arid land. Volcanic activity was rampant, spewing forth greenhouse gases that warmed the planet. This created a humid tropical climate across much of Gondwana, including Australia. Vast forests of ferns and cycads covered the land, providing habitats for dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures. As the Earth's tectonic plates shifted and moved, Gondwana began to break apart. This process, spanning millions of years, created the continents we know today. Australia, still connected to Antarctica, began its slow northward drift. This movement had a profound impact on the continent's climate and, as we shall see, its future inland sea. Around 140 million years ago, during the early Cretaceous period, the stage was set for the formation of Australia's inland sea. As the continent drifted northward, the Earth's crust stretched and thinned. This created a massive basin, a depression in the land that would soon be filled with water. This basin, known as the Eromanga Basin, stretched across what is now central Australia, covering an area larger than modern-day Europe. Sea levels were also rising during this period, due to the melting of polar ice caps and the expansion of seawater as it warmed. As a result, the Eromanga Basin began to flood. Over millions of years, the basin filled with water, creating a vast inland sea. This was the Eromanga Sea, a teeming ecosystem that would dominate the Australian landscape for millions of years. The Eromanga Sea was no mere puddle. It was a deep, saltwater sea, home to a diverse array of marine life. Fossils of plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, and other marine reptiles have been discovered in the Eromanga Basin, alongside sharks, fish, and invertebrates. These creatures swam through warm, shallow seas. Their remains eventually fossilized in the sediments that would one day form the Australian outback. For millions of years, the Eromanga Sea thrived, its waters teeming with life. However, the forces that had created this inland sea would eventually conspire to destroy it. The Earth's climate, never static, began to change. Around 100 million years ago, the planet entered a cooling phase. Volcanic activity decreased, reducing the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. As a result, global temperatures dropped and sea levels began to fall. As sea levels receded, the Eromanga Sea began to shrink. The once deep waters became shallower and the coastline retreated. The shrinking sea fragmented into a series of smaller lakes scattered across the landscape. Over time, even these lakes evaporated, leaving behind vast salt pans and dry, dusty plains. The drying of the Eromanga Sea had a profound impact on the Australian continent. The lush forests that once thrived around its shores gave way to grasslands and deserts. The creatures that had called the sea home either adapted to the changing environment or perished. The age of the inland sea was over, but its legacy would continue to shape the land for millennia to come. Section 5. Lake Eyre, a remnant of a bygone era. Today, the vast expanse of the Australian outback bears little resemblance to the lush, watery landscape of the Eromanga Sea. Gone are the plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs, replaced by kangaroos, emus, and hardy desert plants. Yet remnants of this ancient sea can still be found, whispering tales of a time when water flowed freely across the land. One such remnant is Lake Eyre, located in the heart of South Australia. This vast, shallow depression is the lowest point in Australia, lying 15 meters below sea level. For most of the year, Lake Eyre is a dry, salt-encrusted pan, shimmering white under the scorching sun. However, during rare periods of significant rainfall, the lake comes alive. Rivers and creeks, usually dry, swell with water, carrying it hundreds of kilometers towards the lake. Lake Eyre transforms into a vast inland sea, albeit a temporary one. While Lake Eyre's modern-day floods are fleeting, they offer a tantalizing glimpse into Australia's watery past. For a brief period, the desert blooms, and the land teems with life. Birds flock to the lake in their thousands, drawn by the promise of water and abundant food. Fish, frogs, and other aquatic creatures emerge from their dormant state, their life cycles synchronized with the unpredictable floods. This cycle of boom and bust, of life clinging to existence in the face of harsh conditions, is a testament to the enduring legacy of Australia's inland sea. Section 6. Dreams of an Inland Sea. The Bradfield Scheme. The idea of an inland sea, once a reality in Australia's distant past, has continued to capture the imaginations of some. In the early 20th century, as Australia grappled with the challenges of drought and aridity, a bold and ambitious plan emerged to recreate the inland sea through human intervention. This was the Bradfield Scheme, the brainchild of John Bradfield, a prominent Australian engineer. Bradfield's vision was nothing short of audacious. He proposed damming several rivers in Queensland, capturing the monsoon rains that fell on the east coast. This water would then be diverted westward through a series of canals and tunnels into the dry interior of the continent. The goal was to irrigate vast tracts of land, creating fertile farmland and supporting a growing population. The Bradfield Scheme was a product of its time, a period when large-scale engineering projects were seen as solutions to seemingly insurmountable problems. The idea of harnessing nature's power, of bending rivers to our will, held a powerful allure. Bradfield's plan, while ambitious, was not without its supporters. Some saw it as a visionary solution to Australia's water woes, a way to unlock the potential of the arid interior. Section 7. The Challenges of Geoengineering, Why Bradfield Failed. While the Bradfield Scheme captured the imagination of some, it was met with skepticism and opposition from others. Critics pointed to the enormous costs involved, both financial and environmental. The construction of dams, canals, and tunnels would require a massive investment of resources, and the long-term ecological impacts were unknown. One of the main criticisms leveled at the Bradfield Scheme was its potential impact on river systems. Diverting vast quantities of water from eastern rivers would have significant consequences for downstream ecosystems and communities. The delicate balance of these river systems, already stressed by human activity, would be further disrupted. Furthermore, the effectiveness of the Bradfield Scheme in actually greening the desert was debatable. The soils in the Australian interior are often poor and saline, making them unsuitable for agriculture, even with irrigation. The evaporation rates in the outback are also extremely high, meaning that much of the diverted water would simply evaporate before it could reach its intended destination. In the end, the Bradfield Scheme proved to be too ambitious, too costly, and too environmentally risky. While the dream of recreating the inland sea persisted in some quarters, the realities of geography, climate, and ecology proved to be insurmountable obstacles. Section 8. The Future of Australia's Water Conservation and Innovation. The failure of the Bradfield Scheme highlighted the challenges of large-scale geoengineering projects, especially in the face of a changing climate. Today, as Australia continues to grapple with water scarcity and the impacts of climate change, the focus has shifted away from grand schemes and towards more sustainable solutions. Conservation is key. Australia is the driest inhabited continent on Earth, and water is a precious resource. Reducing water consumption in homes, businesses, and agriculture is essential. This can be achieved through a combination of education, regulation, and incentives. Innovation also plays a crucial role. New technologies, such as desalination and water recycling, are helping to supplement traditional water sources. These technologies, while energy-intensive, are becoming increasingly efficient and cost-effective. Ultimately, the future of Australia's water lies in a multifaceted approach. This involves managing demand, investing in new technologies, and adapting to a changing climate. It also requires recognizing the limits of human intervention and the importance of working within the constraints of Australia's unique environment. Section 9. Conclusion: Embracing Australia's arid beauty. The story of Australia's lost inland sea is a reminder of the dynamic nature of our planet. What was once a vast watery expanse is now a sun-baked desert, a testament to the power of geological forces and the ever-changing climate. While the Eromanga Sea may be long gone, its legacy lives on in the land itself, in the fossils of ancient creatures, and in the remnants of ancient shorelines. Instead of seeking to recreate the past, perhaps we should embrace the present and learn to live sustainably in this arid land. Australia's deserts, while harsh, are also places of immense beauty and ecological significance. They are home to a unique array of plants and animals, adapted to survive in this challenging environment. By respecting the limits of our environment, by conserving water, and by embracing innovation, we can ensure a sustainable future for all who call Australia home. The lost inland sea may be a thing of the past, but the lessons it holds are as relevant as ever.